Bonjour et bienvenue à
Good
tous,
morning and
Excellences, Mesdames et
welcome,
Messieurs,
Your Excellencies,
chers
ladies and
vénérables.
gentlemen, our venerable
C'est
masters.
effectivement notre troisième jour. J'espère que vous
Today is
n'êtes pas
the
trop
third day of our
fatigués.
conference, so I hope that you're not too tired.
On va commencer notre journée,
We're going to
mais
begin
juste quelques mots
the
pour
conference, but first I just wanted to say a few
nous
words
remémorer ce qui s'est passé pendant ces
to
2
sum up
jours.
what has taken place over the course of the
On
past 2
avait
days.
abordé hier
Yesterday,
l'approche globale de la
we
mise en
spoke
œuvre de
about
l'éducation
the
à la
global approach
citoyenneté
to
mondiale
global citizenship,
et le débat a été
and we held
assez nourrissant.
a
Il y avait
very
beaucoup d'éléments, beaucoup
interesting
d'informations
discussion that was extremely
qu'il
fruitful,
nous faut
with
digérer, au
a
fait.
lot of information that was
Et c'est
provided
très
to us,
bien.
a lot of food for
Mais
thought, and I think this
aujourd'hui,
is wonderful.
Nous allons
But
encore
today,
approfondir
We will continue
cette idée de
to
comment vivre
develop the
ensemble
idea of
et ce
how
que
can we
c'est
live
la
together
citoyenneté
and
mondiale.
what is global citizenship.
Mais aujourd'hui, nous allons aborder
However,
sur
today
le point
we
assez
will
concret
discuss
par
a
les
rather
expériences
specific topic.
emmenées par ceux qui travaillent
We will listen to the
sur le terrain.
experiences of those who are
Pendant
currently
cette conférence,
working on the ground.
nous avons déjà eu l'occasion
During this conference,
d'écouter
we already had the
les
opportunity to
expériences de
listen
dialogue
and learn about
interculturel,
experiences of
interreligieux
engaging in
pour la
intercultural
paix
and interreligious dialogue for
qui se
peace,
fait en
which
Tunisie,
is taking place
au Maroc,
in Tunisia, in Morocco,
en Égypte
in Egypt,
et aussi au Nigeria.
and also in
On a eu
Nigeria.
l'occasion d'écouter les expériences
We were also able to learn about
par le biais
some of
du
the
grand savant Avicenne
efforts
qui a
being
été
made by the great
exposé par la table
scholar
ronde numéro
Avicenne,
1 et qui a parlé beaucoup
who
de cette
spoke
expérience
in depth
millénaire
about his experience
de dialogue
of
interreligieux,
engaging
interculturel,
in
dialogue
intercultural and
scientifique
interreligious dialogue,
par le
as well
biais
as scientific dialogue.
de ce grand savant qui était Avicenne. Et aujourd'hui,
This is the great thinker Avicenne. And today,
nous sommes très heureux
we are delighted
d'accueillir
to
d'autres
welcome
acteurs,
other
toujours sur le terrain,
players who are also
qui opèrent
engaged in the field,
ici en France,
who are working
qui
here in
opèrent
France,
au Singapour
also in
et
Singapore,
aussi qui opèrent à l'université
and in
des Pays de Galles,
the University of Wales,
l'université Trinity Saint David.
the Trinity St.
Alors,
David
j'ai
College.
l'honneur d'appeler à monter sur
It is
scène
my honor to
les
call to
premiers
the podium
intervenants
the
pour
first
cette
speakers
première partie
of the first
de notre table
portion
ronde.
of our panel.
Les 3 représentants, alors,
The
de la
3
France.
representatives of
par le biais
France,
de Madame Radia
represented
Bakou,
by Mrs. Radia Bakouche,
qui est présidente de l'association
who is
Coexister France.
president
Je vous en
of the
prie,
association
vous pouvez
Coexister
monter.
France. Please come to the
avoir
stage.
place, s'il vous plaît.
Please take your seat.
J'appelle aussi le représentant de
Next, I would also like to
la
call
communauté de Singapour,
on the
M.
representative of the
Sayed
Singapore
Ahmad
community,
Hassan
Mr. Syed
Alatas,
Ahmed Hassan Alatas,
pour prendre
to come
place
to the stage and take a seat.
ici. Et j'appelle le vénérable
And I would like to
Xing
call
Miao,
on Venerable Sheng Miao,
directeur de l'Institut de la Sinologie à
Director
l'Université
of the Han
des Pays
College
de Galles,
at the University of
Trinity
Wales,
St.
Trinity
David.
St. David,
à prendre place.
to take a seat.
Je rappelle juste
I would just
que
like to remind all
la
of
table
you
ronde de
that
ce matin se
this
divise
morning's panel
en 2 parties.
is actually
Vous allez comprendre tout à
separated
l'heure.
into
Parce
two
que
portions, and you will
après
understand
ces
why.
3 interventions,
Because after these
y aura
three presentations, after hearing them,
un groupe formidable
we
de
will
communautés
hear
extrêmement
from a
dynamique
group of people who form a very dynamic and active community,
extraordinaire,
an extraordinary
la
community of
communauté
people.
de Toowoomba,
And this is
qui va
the
prendre la
Toowoomba
suite
community,
pour
which will then take the floor
continuer la table ronde.
and continue
Alors aujourd'hui,
this panel's
ce matin
discussions.
surtout, on aura
Today,
beaucoup
especially this
d'informations
morning, we
sur ce qui
will
se passe
obtain a
sur le terrain.
lot of interesting
Alors,
information
sans
about
plus
what is
tarder,
happening on the ground.
je vais donner
Without
la
further ado, I
parole
would like to give the floor
à Madame
to
Radia
Ms.
Bakou,
Radia Bakou,
présidente de l'association
President of the
Coexister
association
France,
Coexister
pour
France,
nous expliquer un peu
who
ce
will
qui se
tell
passe
us a
dans ce
little bit
pays qui
about
nous
what is
accueille,
happening in this country,
dans
which
ce
is
pays
hosting us today, in this
multiculturel,
very
et
multicultural.
ce que l'association Coexister France
She will
est
tell
en
us
train
about what
de mener sur le terrain.
the association
Madame, je vous
Coexister
donne
France
la
is
parole.
doing here locally. Ms. Bakou, you have the floor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Radia Bakou, and I'm president of the Coexister organization. Before my presentation, I just wanted to show you a brief video about the organization, a video that is a call for action.
La France est un des pays les plus diversifiés au monde. Origine sociale, territoriale, ethnique,
France is one of the
genre et
most
orientation
diverse
sexuelle,
countries in the
convictions
world
politiques,
in terms
syndicales et
of
religieuses.
political
On est un
beliefs,
microcosme
religious
de toute
beliefs,
l'humanité.
etc. We represent all of
Construire
humanity.
une société soudée et unie est un véritable
Building
défi.
a
Si l'on ne veut pas contraindre chacune et
very
chacun
close
à se
society
replier sur ses
is a
semblables.
challenge.
La
Otherwise,
nation française, elle rassemble
people
une
only
multitude de
stick to those
personnes
who they-
ayant des
whom they
convictions
know.
religieuses,
In France,
philosophiques ou
we
spirituelles
have very different
différentes,
philosophical,
voire divergentes.
religious, and spiritual beliefs.
Pourtant, les frontons de la République nous rappellent que nous devons agir les uns
But
les
we
unes
have to
envers les
remember
autres
that
avec un
we
esprit
should
fraternel.
Et nous
treat
pouvons
others
créer
with
de la
a
convergence
spirit
grâce à
of
nos
brotherhood
différences.
and respect our differences.
Divers dans nos convictions.
We have
Unis
very
pour
diverse
C'est en
beliefs,
tissant des liens, en créant des relations improbables et en faisant des connexions dans le monde réel que l'on pourra
but
prévenir
by
les
building
conflits,
connections with each
l'exclusion et la
other,
violence.
we can combat
La différence doit d'abord
isolation
être
and
une
violence.
expérience.
Pour que cette
Being
expérience
different
soit
is an
positive,
experience. In order for it to be
Coexister
a
propose
positive
depuis 10 ans
experience,
des parcours de
Coexister for the past
coexistence
10
active
years
dans 50 villes en
has
France.
been conducting
Aujourd'hui, nous
efforts in
sommes 2500
50
jeunes à suivre ce
cities in
parcours.
France. There are 2,500 young people
Grâce à
who are
des
members
activités
of
organisées
Coexister.
tout au long de l'année, des repas
We have
partagés, des
activities
fêtes improvisées,
that we
des
hold
visites
throughout
de lieux
the
de
year,
connexion.
shared
Des débats, des
meals.
projections, des événements de
debates,
solidarité.
Nous avons
film
décidé de faire ensemble
viewings.
pour mieux vivre ensemble.
Dans
We
toute la
do our
France, en
best
tant que membre de
to improve our
Coexister France,
experience
400
of living
bénévoles
together.
agissent
We have
chaque semaine.
400 volunteers working
Pour
with
être
us every
ensemble,
week.
il ne suffit pas de
To
le
live
vouloir,
together,
même si c'est déjà un
we have to
premier
not
pas.
just want
La
it,
cohésion et la paix,
even though
ça
that's the
s'apprend.
first step.
Et c'est pour ça
We
que
need
nous
to
prenons
learn
le temps de
about
le faire.
uh,
Et le temps,
cohesion
c'est important.
and peace, and that takes time.
Personne ne naît avec un sentiment de haine ou de rejet.
Nobody is
Le
born
racisme et
with a feeling of
l'exclusion
hatred
sociale s'apprennent
towards
aussi.
others.
C'est pourquoi chaque année,
People
nous
learn to
allons
be
dans 500
racist, and
établissements
this is
scolaires
why
devant
we
des
have
milliers de jeunes
programs
pour leur désapprendre les préjugés.
over 500 schools in front of thousands of children to teach them to be tolerant.
Voilà, donc c'est une vidéo pour un passage à
So
l'action.
this was a video that's a call for action. So what is Coexister? Coexister is a movement of young people and an education movement which has a presence in 52 cities in France and in Europe. It brings together 3,000 young people between the ages of 15 and 35 from the whole spectrum of religion beliefs. They're Jews, Christians, Muslims, atheists, agnostics, etc. Members of Coexister have a positive experience of diversity and they become players promoting peace within their communities. Often we say that France is the country in Europe with the largest Jewish and Muslim population, but it's also the oldest Catholic country in Europe and one of the largest countries with an atheist population. However, religion and diversity is a subject that creates tension in France. On the other hand, there are many people in public positions who believe that that France has not experienced war in so long that peace is something that's obsolete and outdated. Nevertheless, we still experience quite a bit of tension and we need to counter some of the violent actions that we have experienced recently. So in Coexister, we have decided to capitalize on our diversity of spiritual, philosophical, and religious beliefs, not just as a force for good, but as a source of wealth and a way of learning to learn together. It's important to allow people to express their beliefs and opinions in safe spaces, to allow them to open up to meeting others and learning about others. But how do we do this? How can we build peace in France with this kind of interreligious experience? Because we are talking about specific individual experiences. Our flagship program, which addresses some of our concerns, is the community of those living together. If you join Coexister, you have to follow a pedagogical program that lasts 1 year, from October 15th to June 15th, and you take part in a spectrum of activities to learn about others, so debates, conferences, and so forth. And you take part in various events, for example, collecting donations, etc. And in this way, you can combat some of your personal prejudices and biases. And we have another program for children in schools who have not joined Coexister yet and who have not joined our cause. That is why Coexister has conducted events for approximately 120,000 young people in schools over the past 10 years in different geographic, social, and economic environments. Our third program is a training program called Interfaith Tour. It's an educational program which allows 4 young people to learn to coexist. These are people from different faiths, and the goal is to promote, connect, and replicate some innovative and positive practices that help us build peace on a daily basis. We have, thanks to this program, learned about the situation in 80 countries in the entire world. And I hope that one day I'll be able to present to you a report about the state of peace and cooperation in all countries of this world. So this program is ongoing, and right now it is currently being implemented in Jerusalem, where we are learning about local initiatives. These 3 programs are something that we continue to work on every year, and we also attempt to continue to innovate and create new opportunities to rethink our connections with other people. Because after all, the goal of our actions, of our events, is to create ties and friendship at the micro level, which will help create social cohesion and peace at the macro level. We organize these meetings in spaces where we can trust each other, and we always try to maintain a balance between identity and diversity, unity and diversity as well. We hope that we can use our differences to build peace, and through our very specific and simple actions prove that we need to arrive at the key solution of interfaith cooperation. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much,
C'est
Ms. Radia Baku. Your presentation is very interesting,
que les jeunes
and we're very happy to hear that young people who will be managing and leading humanity's future are working with you, and that you are taking the lead in this movement, Coexister, to promote tolerance, mutual understanding, and coexistence. This is really important, and I wanted to thank you once again for your work over the past decade, which has been very fruitful and very productive. Thank you again.
Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs,
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen,
en 1998, le Vénérable
in
Master Ching Kong a
1998,
pratiqué les
Venerable
4
Master
méthodes
Ching
globales
Kong
pour les relations interpersonnelles
demonstrated the 4 methods for interpersonal
Singapour.
relations in Singapore.
Et à ce moment-là, En 2 ans,
And at the time,
cette méthode pratiquée par le
over
vénérable Master
2
Ching
years,
Kong a
this
pu
method spearheaded by the Venerable Master
réaliser
Ching Kung
l'harmonie
was
des
able
9
to
religions majeures.
achieve harmony among the
à
9
Singapour.
major religions in Singapore.
Cette expérience de Singapour était la révélation
Singapore's
qu'il est possible
experience
d'avoir
has
une
shown us
entente
that it's
multireligieuse
possible
parfaite
to achieve perfect understanding
et
between
réunir les
different
religions
religions
comme une
and
grande
bring
famille
religions together as if they were part
et
of
que
one
cette optique
large
est
family.
vraiment réalisable.
It showed that this
Aujourd'hui,
is feasible.
Pendant cette conférence, nous avons déjà vu
Today, at this
ces
conference, we have already
leaders
seen
religieux de Singapour
that these
a fait
religious leaders of
la
Singapore
prière au tout début de cette conférence.
who held
Et
our
maintenant,
prayer at
sur
the start of the conference
cette scène,
and
le
who are now
représentant de cette
represented on the
communauté,
stage
en l'occurrence
by
Mr.
Mr. Syed
Hassan
Ahmed Hassan
Al-Attas,
Al-Attas.
qui est le fils de l'imam
He
Habib
is the son of Imam Habib
Syed
Syed
Hassan
Hassan Al-Attas.
et qui représente alors cette communauté
And he is here to
interreligieuse
represent
formidable de
the
Singapour.
wonderful interfaith community of Singapore.
Et j'ai l'honneur de lui
It
donner
is my
la
honor
parole
to give him the floor.
maintenant.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. His Eminence, Venerable Master Ching Kung, my fellow distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning, bonjour, ami tofo. I feel greatly honored today to be present on this auspicious occasion, a conference on science, ethics, spirituality, and true love. Education for a world of peace and harmony. There is no doubt that this conference is aimed to unite our hearts and to make this world a better place to live in. I'm very happy to see so many familiar faces and smiles from many different countries, different religions, different races, and different cultures. If we stop for a moment and we look back, many of us will begin to ponder, why did God the Almighty create different races? Why did He create different languages? Why did He create different cultures? What is the secret behind this? In our Holy Quran, it is clearly stated, رَبَّنَا مَا خَلَقْتَ هَذَا بَاطِلًا, which means, our Lord did not create anything in vain. There is a purpose and there is a reason for every single creation. If we look at the world today, we find many different races. Currently, there are about 6,500 different spoken languages, with Mandarin being the most spoken language today. About 1.1 billion people around the world speak Mandarin. Surprisingly, the English language falls second to Mandarin, spoken by less than 1 billion people around the world. But yet, among all other languages, Mandarin is proven to be the most difficult language to master for the English-speaking people. Now, if we look in the world again today, we find there are about 5,000 different cultures and ethnic behaviors. There are about 4,200 different religions, but yet, generations after generations, humanity still exists. And they still live among one another. In the Holy Quran, God said, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha, wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qabaila lita'arafu. Which means, O mankind, indeed we have created you and have made you nations. We have made you tribes. Why? So that you may know one another. Clearly, from the verse above, in Islam, we believe that Almighty God created different skin colors, different sizes, different age groups, different behaviors of humanity. Why? For us to know, for us to understand, for us to respect, to love and care for one another, regardless of our differences. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our main purpose. Now, again, when we look back and we see what has been created for human consumption, and according to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, we find that there are about 250 to 300,000 species of edible plants in this world, with about 65,000 edible fishes, mammals, and birds, even a few hundred types of chicken. We also find there is also another about 70,000 types of edible mushrooms. Thus, it is clear for us to see different cultures will take and consume different kinds of food. In Singapore, we can be considered unique as compared to a few or many other nations. We have a blend of many different races and cultures living together for more than 200 years. In food, for example, nasi lemak, a very famous Malay fragrant rice dish, usually wrapped in banana leaf, has for more than 100 years been cooked and eaten in Malay, in Chinese, in Indian, and even Eurasian homes. In Singapore now, for example, the famous Malay nasi lemak supplier is by a Chinese, Mr. Jaafar Ma of Spice Village, who is here with us today. In 1909, Sir Richard Winstead said nasi lemak in Malay means creamy rice, and that it was loved and was a favorite dish for the Europeans at that time. In Palembang, Indonesia, nasi lemak is one of their favorite dishes, but it is more known as nasi gemuk or fatty rice, as they feel when they eat too much, it will make you fat. Ladies and gentlemen, Dalai Lama, when asked what surprised him most about humanity, he answered, man, because he sacrifices his health in order to make money. Then he sacrifices his money to recuperate his health. And then he is so anxious about the future that he does not enjoy the present. The result being that he does not live in the present nor in the future. He lives as if he is never going to die, but in the end he dies never having really lived his life. A man of faith will never allow this to happen. They will not sacrifice their health just to make money. They will eat the right food. They will maintain their health, and they will make money as a means of a livelihood. They will use money to enjoy some moments in their life, from having a good food to having a decent life. They will plan for the future. They will be proud. They will be happy. They will be patient. And they will be content when whatever future unfolds slowly in their lifetime. These are among the principles, teachings of Islam. And I believe it is also among the teachings of many other faiths. According to a report by Professor John Halliwell from the Gallup poll, the happiest country in the world is Finland. And Finland has about 400,000 immigrants. Why? It is always interesting to be with people of different races, languages, cultures, and eat their different kinds of food. Another important reason why Finland scores very well is generosity. Finnish, or the native people of Finland, they are generally kind and very generous people. They like to give, and they like to make others happy. It is clear that when we help others, it will make you feel better. Distinguished guests, it is important for us to learn from these nations to improve our life and our societies. Happiness is not inherently in short supply. Happiness can be shared for all without being scarce for those who give it. Happiness will grow when we share it. The happiest country in Asia, ranked 8th in the world, is Bhutan. Mainly a Buddhist nation, it perfectly balances the people's quality of life and the spiritual development through education and moral values. Now, these acts of kindness can be found in the teachings of our Venerable Master Cheng Kung. These are the true values of humanity. As Imam Jalaluddin Rumi once said, only from the heart, then you can touch the sky. Thank you very much.
Ce n'est qu'à partir de votre cœur que vous pouvez toucher.
Right, so it's only from the heart that you can actually reach heaven. Thank you very much, Mr. Sayed. Mr. Sayed Ahmed Hassan Al-Attas, for your presentation. And your presentation was indeed like a breath of fresh air and helped us to understand that we should live in the present, and our lives only matter if we help others, and we feel better when we help others. And happiness can only increase if it is shared. And these are the very clear fundamentals of coexisting, learning to share, and learning to share happiness. This is something that we're all trying to learn every day. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen,
En partenariat avec le Vénérable Master
In
Ching Kong,
partnership with Venerable Master Ching Kong,
l'Université Trinity Saint-David
the University of
a mis sur
the
pied
Wales Trinity St. David
un institut
University
de sinologie
and
et un
the
cursus
Institute
de doctorat
of Chinese
professionnel en
Studies
harmonie
and
pour les acteurs et professionnels de différentes religions.
doctorate of
Nous avons l'honneur
harmony
d'accueillir
and
maintenant
harmony between people of different
le
faiths.
Vénérable
We now have
Xing
the
Miao,
great
qui est
honor of
le directeur de cet institut de
introducing
sinologie à l'Université
Venerable
Trinity
Xing
Saint-David.
Miao, who
Et
is
c'est
the
un grand
director
honneur pour moi
of the Ham
de
College at
lui
University of
donner
Wales,
la
Trinity
parole.
St. David, and I would like to give him the
À vous la
floor.
parole.
Over to you.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm much honored to be here to share the topic on causality education. Since 2013, I've been attending the International Peace Conference here almost every year. I'm very delighted to see many old friends as well as new faces today. I'll talk about the importance of the causality education for promoting social stability, and there'll be 4 parts. Firstly, the universality and importance of causality education. Secondly, the features of the law of cause and effect. Thirdly, real-life examples of the law of cause and effect. And fourthly, how to implement causality education. Let's look at the first part. Part 1, the universality and importance of causality education. What goes around comes around, or as you sow, so shall you reap, is a widely accepted understanding of the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect is like a boomerang, which will fly back to the person who throws it. Whatever we do to others will eventually come back to us. Ever since ancient times, human beings have observed the working of this law. This is why many folk stories and drama across the world depicted the causality law, where good deeds result in good fortune and bad deeds result in misfortune. For example, we can find it in the British novel Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, in Indian fairy tales, and in Chinese folk songs and dramas. All of this literature and artistic work displayed the educational impact of the law of cause and effect as a universal value on the people. We can also find the display of the working of the law of cause and effect in traditional religious buildings in countries such as China, Korea, and Vietnam. Taking city god temples as example, many murals and statues found in the temples are used to display the trials and punishment in hells that a person has to suffer after death if they have done bad deeds when alive. Many of those who saw the images and statues in the temples in their youth have a lasting impression of bad deeds brings misfortune, and therefore don't dare to do bad deeds. Many religions also have teachings related to the law of cause and effect. For example, in Hinduism, the Bhagavata Purana states, everybody reaps the fruit of his own deeds. In Christianity, the Bible teaches us, the point is this, the one who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and the one who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. The Taoist text, Lao Tzu's treatise on cause and effect, states, "Misfortune and good fortune do not visit us uninvited. The consequence of our good and bad deeds follow us just like our own shadows." The classical Confucian text, the Book of Document, states, "Doing good deeds will bring a person countless good fortune, while doing bad deeds will bring them endless misfortune." In ancient societies, people were deeply influenced by these artistic works and teachings and clearly understood the law of cause and effect. They refrained from doing bad deeds because they were afraid of misfortune and repercussions. Consequently, people were naturally simple and honest, and the society was naturally stable. Ethical and moral education makes people feel ashamed to do bad deeds, but causality education makes people fear to do bad deeds, and it has a stronger impact than ethical and moral education. It's why a renowned Chinese scholar of the early 18th century, Zhou Anzi, said, "Everyone believing in the law of cause and effect is the way of bringing great order to the world. Everyone disbelieving the cause and effect is the way of creating chaos in the world." His words shows us the root cause of chaos in the world today, and we should be particularly vigilant. Therefore, causality education is of paramount importance for maintaining social stability and harmony. However, today's society doesn't emphasize causality education as much as before. Some films even promote the notion that the villain can get away from their evil deeds. This type of artistic work will have a negative impact on people's minds in that some may think that they can get away from the punishment of the law of cause and effect so long as they are clever enough. In fact, such a view is very short-sighted. Those who committed bad deeds might be able to run for a while, but can't hide forever. Once they are caught, their reputation will be ruined and they will be imprisoned. The consequence is miserable. A renowned French criminologist, Dr. Edmond Locard, proposed the Locard exchange principle, which states, with contact between two items, there will always be an exchange. So what the principle tells us is that there is no perfect crime in which the villain can bear absolutely no consequence. To revive causality education and maintain social stability, we must first of all understand the features of the law of cause and effect. People will build up faith in the law of cause and effect when their doubt on and the misunderstanding of it are removed. So next, I'll share the features of the law of cause and effect. Part 2, the feature of the law of cause and effect. Let's look at the features of the law of cause and effect based on the teachings of different traditions and religions. A, the delayed effect, the time lag between cause and effect. When we plant a seed in the soil, it takes a while before it sprouts, grows into a mature plant, blossoms, and bears fruit. Similarly, after we've done a good or bad deed, we won't immediately receive the result. it has to take a considerably long period of time before the effect shows. A Chinese saying goes, it's not that there's no effect, it's just a matter of time. When the time comes, the effect will naturally appear. The ancient had much patience with long-term observation, and therefore they could discover that the law of cause and effect works without any exception. However, some people in the modern age are short-sighted and expect quick result. They doubt or even deny the existence of the law of cause and effect when they see no immediate result after people have done good or bad deeds. It's therefore clear that many misunderstandings arise due to the lack of understanding of the time lag between cause and effect. If we proactively do good or bad deeds every day, it roughly takes 3 years to see the result. Just as the Taoist text, Lao Tzu's treatise on cause and effect states, a virtuous person speaks, sees, and performs only what is good. If they perform these 3 kinds of good deeds every day, 3 years later, good fortune will certainly befall them. An evil person speaks, sees, and performs only what is bad. If they commit these 3 kinds of bad deeds every day, 3 years later, misfortune will unavoidably befall them. B. The inevitability of cause and effect. Another feature of the law of cause and effect is the inevitability of cause and effect. Be it a good or bad deed, the impact of what we've done won't vanish. When the conditions ripen, what we've done will definitely bear its fruit to impact us. The Buddhist Sutra, the great heap of Jewel Sutra, states that despite the passage of hundreds of eons, the karma of what one does will not vanish. When the cause and the right conditions meet up, one is still subject to the effect. The Bible teaches us, for all of us must appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each may receive recompense for what has been done in the body, whether good or evil. The Taoist text, the Tao Te Ching, also says, vast is nature's net of a penalty. Although loose, it spares no one who deserves their penalty. All the above tells us that the law of cause and effect is inevitable. C. The amplification of cause and effect. Small cause brings big effect. A pumpkin seed is small, but given the right conditions, it bears many big pumpkins. Similarly, the effect of what we've done, be it good or bad, will produce much amplified result when the right conditions are met. The Quran states that whoever brings a good deed shall have 10 times the like thereof to his credit. The Buddhist treatise, A Broad Discourse on the Sequence to the Body Path, states that karma grows immensely, although it was tiny when first committed. When the conditions ripen, the associated reward or retribution manifested will be extremely huge. We can see that both the East and the West has similar mottos, telling us don't disregard a good deed or perform a bad deed just because it's small. This is very important. D, the changeability of a cause and effect. Good and bad karma have facilitating and suppressing influences on each other that will have an impact on the magnitude of the reward or retribution. Bad karma facilitates bad karma and impedes good karma. Similarly, good karma facilitates good karma and impedes bad karma. Therefore, if after we have committed bad karma and continue to perform more bad deeds, they facilitate previous bad karma to ripen sooner and increase the degree of its negative effect. On the other hand, if we endeavor to perform good deeds after having done bad karma, they impede the bad karma ripening and reduce the degree of its negative effect. Therefore, it's very important to repent and avoid recommitting misdeeds. Just as what's stated in Lao Tzu's Treatise of Cause and Effect, as for those who had committed bad deeds but later repented and rectified their misdeeds, they should henceforth abstain from all bad deeds and diligently perform what is good. Consequently, they gradually obtain auspiciousness. This is what's called turning misfortune into good fortune. This feature of the law of cause and effect tells us that our destinies are changeable. Those of us who experience extreme mishaps and hardships will improve destinies if we endeavor to perform good deeds. Conversely, those of us who were born with good destinies will have our destinies turned bad if we keep doing bad deeds. Irrespective of religions or ethnic groups, this phenomenon has been found everywhere ever since the ancient past. Part 3. Real-life examples of the law of cause and effect. I'll give you 2 examples. A. Nurse saves boy, boy saves nurse. A CBS News report on the 6th of February 2006 said, a 17-year-old American young man, Kevin Steven, came across an old lady who was choked on food and had difficulty with breathing in the street of Washington, D.C. The young man went up to help her and later found out that she was the one who had saved his life 7 years ago. Kevin saw the old lady lying in the street and having difficulty with breathing. He then realized that it was because her air passage was blocked by food. So he pressed her stomach with his elbows and eventually helped her spit out the food. The old lady was then sent to a hospital nearby. When Kevin's mother, Helen, arrived at the hospital, she recognized that the old lady was Mrs. Penny Brown, who had saved her son. 7 years ago, Kevin's head was hit by a baseball, and it was Mrs. Brown, a nurse, who sent Kevin to hospital. Helen said, "These are the things that we can't explain with common reasoning. I'm a Christian. I believe it was God who arranged it all. Everything has a reason behind it." B. Yu Jingyi's story of changing his life. Another real-life example is a Chinese man of the 16th century called Yu Jingyi. He was a scholar who made much effort to do good deeds and hoped to get a government post through imperial examination. However, his destiny was worsened day by day. He failed to obtain any government post. Instead, he was destitute. His son went missing, his daughter became insane, and his wife lost her eyesight due to crying too much over the loss of their son. He was utterly disheartened and blamed the heaven for being unfair. On a Chinese New Year's Eve, a virtuous elder visited him and pointed out his problems. He did good deeds not out of sincerity, but for show only, expecting praise from others. In fact, his mind was full of bad thoughts, and his speech was harsh, which harmed countless people. So basically, his good deeds were false, and his bad thought and speech were true. What's worse was that he didn't realize that what he had been doing was altogether bad. Therefore, he had to bear miserable consequences. The elder's candid words awakened him, and he swore to rectify all his misdeeds. Ever since then, he had endeavored to correct his mistakes and genuinely performed good deeds. 3 years later, his destiny changed. The Prime Minister appointed him as a private tutor, and he also found his missing son. What's more, his wife restored her eyesight, and his daughter was fully recovered. His family led a happy life thereafter. His story was recorded and circulated since then, which has influenced many people to perform good deeds and refrain from doing bad deeds. Part 4. How to implement causality education. Causality education is of paramount importance. Having faith in the law of cause and effect is the right view, and it's very important for social stability. The implementation of causality education should take a holistic approach and should permeate family education, school education, and social education. It's best to develop a person's correct viewpoint from a young age, and family education is most important. Parents should expose their children to learning materials related to the law of cause and effect since childhood, teaching their children that they should do good deeds and avoid bad ones. An early start will set a solid moral foundation for the children. At school, teachers should teach students correct views on cause and effect and help them distinguish right from wrong and avoid the influence of incorrect views. When it comes to social education, the government and media are the two most important sectors. If both of them can emphasize the importance of causality education and provide the correct knowledge on the law of cause and effect, it will have a very positive impact on promoting social stability and harmony. Religious groups, social welfare, and non-profit organizations can also promote causality education by running training courses. In China and some regions in Southeast Asia, 7-day moral forums are run. Attendees receive intensive training of ethical, moral, and causality education. The impact of causality education is particularly huge. within a span of 7 days, a rebellious child becomes filial, an aggressive person becomes gentle, and the bad become good. The effect is prominent. Lastly, I can't emphasize enough how important causality education is. If every ethnic group and religion can follow their own tradition and faith and reinforce causality education, I believe that people's mind will be purified and the social stability will be within reach. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.